When you look at this keyboard resembles the keyboards we see around. And when we talk about the layout of a keyboard, we are simply talking about the arrangement of the letters.
Inventor Christopher Latham Scholes didn't know it, but his typewriter, the first with a modern layout, would end up being the forerunner to one of the most popular communication tools of the 21st century. Because even though in 1874, a typing device that assigns one letter to each key wasn't exactly the most brilliant idea in history, that title clearly belongs to the cinnamon bun, Scholes' typewriter was notable for introducing the now ubiquitous QWERTY layout, which was effective, supposedly, because it kept letters that were commonly used together away from each other to prevent the mechanical arms of the typewriter from hitting each other and causing jams. Jam. Now, of course, E and R are placed together in lots of words, and in fact, the original design had a period where the R key is today, but whatever the reason for this, QWERTY typewriters became very popular, and this keyboard layout, sorry Dvorak fans, remained the standard for the teleprinters that became widespread in the early 20th century. So it wasn't surprising then that when actual computers like the 30-ton ENIAC started popping onto the scene in the 1940s, these same teleprinters often ended up getting used for data input with that same QWERTY layout, setting the stage for the now familiar keyboard layout to be integrated into later machines that weighed less than an entire family of elephants. In the 1960s, video terminals started becoming popular, and these typically included keyboards that allowed users to more quickly and easily manipulate data on a screen instead of using cards or paper tape like those earlier teleprinters that were adapted for use with computers. Although these terminals looked like full-fledged computers, they were usually just a monitor and keyboard combo that had to be plugged into a larger sized system. However, since it was much easier to type than operate a computer by flipping a bunch of switches on the front or whatever, most computers featured keyboards of some fashion by the early 1980s. And we even started seeing some of the first ergonomic keyboards in the late 70s, with companies like Maltron seriously thinking about the user's comfort in a way that led to some very interesting designs.
All right, good morning. I welcome you back to class, and today we are moving to lesson 8. Lesson 8 is about the computer keyboard. So we want to learn all we can about the computer keyboard. The computer keyboard is an input device. We all know that the computer keyboard is an input device. As a matter of fact, the keyboard is the main input device for computer systems. It is the most used input device, the most recognized input device, and it is used to input instructions into our computers. As a matter of fact, when computers started, we only had keyboards for input. Any instruction that you wanted to give to the computer, you had to type it. If you wanted to run any program, you had to type it. If you wanted to print, you had to type what you wanted to do. Because when computers started, our operating system was command-based. We had an operating system called MS-DOS. Today, we have command prompts and other similar programs. Let me maximize this for you to see. When computers started, this was how computers were. Computers had a black screen with only text, and whatever you wanted to do, you had to type it. Today we still do the same, just that we are given a different environment with a graphical interface to operate the computer. But IT experts still use this interface. So with this interface, if I want to move around on my PC, I'll enter commands, and these commands will give me information about my PC, and I'll be able to browse my PC. So I always have access to whatever I want on my PC. Whatever I want to do, I can do with commands. If I want to open to a folder, I know the command to open to a folder. I'm in the folder. If I want to check what is in the folder, I know the command to let me see what is in the folder. Let's say I want to open to this folder. In IT, a folder is also called a directory. So this is a directory. I want to open to this directory. I know the command to help me open to that directory. I'm in. Let me clear my screen. CLS. Let me check what is in that directory. Now I'm seeing all that I have in that directory. Alright, let me open to this directory here, or folder called mathematics. So I'll type cd mathematics. I'm in. Let me check what is in mathematics folder. dir. I see a whole lot. Right now I can see a file here that is a video, and it says introduction to mathematics.mp4. Let's see how we'll open to that video. Isn't this incredible? With your keyboard, you can enter any command into your computer. You can operate your computer fully. You can do whatever you want to do. With time, we had a better operating system other than the command line operating system. And today we have an environment like this that you can use to double click on folders to browse your computer with your mouse. So the mouse has been added as an input device. So if I want to open to a folder, I can just open to it. I can open to this. If I want to open to this drive, I can just open to it. If I want to open to the AHI folder, I open. If I want to open to this folder, I open. If I want to open to the mathematics folder I saw before, that is it here, I open. And the video is here. Let me open it. The same video. So I can use my mouse as an input device to browse my computer, or use my keyboard to browse my computer. Today, keyboard is not the only input device. We have mouse, we have the touch screen of our touch computers, like your smartphones and your tablets. Your screen has become an input device, and there are some laptops and desktop that the screens are touch screen, that you can touch the screen to operate the computer. So the touch is also an input. Our microphones can take inputs, and several other devices can take input into the computer. Today we want to learn about the keyboard. The keyboard is an interesting device, has been around for so many years, and the concept of keyboard started way before it was even introduced to computers. So let's see what we will get from it. The computer keyboard is an input device that allows a user to enter text and commands into a computer. Text can be in the form of letters, numbers, and symbols. The keyboard is one of the most used computer input devices. Using a keyboard to enter lots of text is called typing. Typing is a process of inputting text by pressing keys on a computer, keyboard, typewriter, cell phone, or calculator. So we use a keyboard to do typing. Have you ever done typing before? Have you ever done typing before? Do you know how to type? As a computer literate, you need to study the keyboard. You need to master the keyboard. You need to be able to type. Typing is part of computer literacy. If you don't learn how to type, it will affect your computer skills. And so you need to learn how to type. Hello. What is a keyboard? I just read about it. What is a keyboard? So, the keyboard is an input device. Did you see how fast I typed? Did I make a mistake? I didn't make a mistake because I have learned how to use the keyboard. You need to learn how to type. Even with your eyes closed, you should be able to access any key on the keyboard. And that comes from practice. To learn about computers, you need to make time and practice. Sometimes it is uncomfortable, but you need to persevere and learn. And learn hard. A computer keyboard is considered an input device because it only sends data to the computer and does not receive any information back. Keyboard keys or buttons typically have characters engraved or printed on them, and each press of a key typically corresponds to a single written symbol. However, producing some symbols may require pressing and holding several keys simultaneously or in a sequence. While most keyboard keys produce letters, numbers, or symbols, other keys or simultaneous key presses can produce actions or execute computer commands. So we will learn how to combine multiple keys to execute commands. For example, if I want to minimize every window on my screen, I'll just press Windows D and everything will go down. We have keyboard combinations for so many commands. And as you learn them, there are so many commands you can run without even touching your mouse. And sometimes it helps you to operate faster or work faster with the computer. Before we get into it, let's start by learning about the two keyboard layouts in the world. There are two popular keyboard layouts in the world. All those two keyboard layouts are recognized and can both work with the computer. You can learn any of them and be comfortable with that. But the one that has gained popularity is what we call the QWERTY keyboard layout. Hello. When you look at this keyboard resembles the keyboards we see around. And when we talk about the layout of a keyboard, we are simply talking about the arrangement of the letters. We are talking about what? The arrangement of the letters. Now, the letters have been arranged in a very, very intentional way so that typing will be easy and the keyboard will be able to help us solve problems easily. The most popular layout in the world is called the QWERTY layout. It is called QWERTY because if you look at the top left keys, the first key is Q, followed by W, then E, R, T, Y. All of these together forms a word, and that word is QWERTY. So when you check the keyboard on your table, you can find out whether it's a QWERTY keyboard or not. Is it a QWERTY keyboard? Alright, so you all have QWERTY keyboards because QWERTY is the most popular keyboard layout. We have another keyboard layout that is called Dvorak. So we want to talk about the QWERTY and Dvorak keyboard layout. The arrangement of keys on a keyboard traditionally follows the QWERTY layout, named for the first 6 keys on the top left row, QWERTY. The QWERTY layout was designed before computers existed and was used as a layout on typewriters. Have you seen a typewriter before? Have you ever used one before? Maybe not, but I'm sure you have seen one before. When was the last time you saw one? You can see it now. Where is it? Okay, some people don't even know what a typewriter is. We have a typewriter here. Typewriters existed decades before computers came, and typewriters made use of a keyboard. Now, there is someone called Christopher Sholes. His name is here. Have you seen his name? Christopher Sholes. He invented the typewriter keyboard in 1868. Were you born at that time? Even your parents were not born. Christopher Sholes invented the QWERTY layout in 1868, and it was used on typewriters. Typewriters dominated the whole world so much so that when computers came, they decided to use the same keyboard system for computers. And so the reason why the typewriter keyboard was invented has affected the reason why we have our QWERTY keyboard. And because of that reason, one professor decided that he will create a better keyboard layout for computers, because the QWERTY keyboard layout was not designed for computers. It was designed for typewriters. And there's a reason for the arrangement. With the QWERTY in particular, the reason for the arrangement is not really because of speed typing, or the reason for the arrangement is not really because they wanted you to know how to type faster. Of course, that is definitely part, but then something happened to affect the arrangement. Hello. Very soon, I think I'll show you the typewriter, and you'll see that anytime you press a typewriter, we have some metals that will be moving. Hello. Have you seen these metal keys? These metal keys are on the typewriter, and they are metals arranged like this, and each metal is for a specific key. And so when you press the keyboard on the typewriter, you actually raise one of the metal and it will go back and hit on the paper. And so anytime you are typing, something like this happens. Can you see this? Whenever you are typing, these metal bars will raise and go back and hit on the paper. And so if you try typing too fast, what will happen is that multiple metals will be raising at the same time, and some of them will be hitting each other and be locking. We call that jamming. So you can see that over here we have a jamming. Please, can you see that? Now, when the QWERTY keyboard was designed to help us type faster, we started experiencing the jamming problem. And so what Christopher Scholes decided to do was to separate keys that are most used from each other. So if there are certain keys that we use all the time, we want to separate them from each other, because if they are close to each other, they will easily jam because we always use those keys. And so the arrangement was spread in a way that the keys that are most used will be far apart, so that when we type, it will reduce the jamming. And so that is what led to the invention of the QWERTY layout. When you talk about keyboard layout, you are simply talking about the arrangement of the keys. Now, it was created by a newspaper editor named Christopher Scholes in 1868. However, the layout has survived for more than a century with very few, if any, improvements at all. QWERTY is a very popular keyboard layout, and almost everyone in the world is familiar with it and uses it. One thing that happened with the QWERTY was that the QWERTY became so popular and people got used to it. And people who learned how to type were comfortable with the QWERTY layout, to the extent that when the Dvorak was introduced, people still felt comfortable with the QWERTY, and people didn't move from QWERTY. Because if you move away from this arrangement and you are given a keyboard, you have to learn typing all over again. And if you have already learned typing with the QWERTY, it will be confusing when you are using the other arrangements. Another competitive keyboard layout is the Dvorak keyboard. The Dvorak keyboard was named after the inventor, Dr. August Dvorak, an American professor, and was patented in 1932, but has never been widely adopted. Many typists who have tried this layout have been adamant that Dvorak is more efficient than QWERTY, but others have claimed that Dvorak is not really much of an improvement. Additionally, switching to a new layout will be quite an inconvenience for most typists. Let me show you the Dvorak layout. This is how the Dvorak looks like. And Dr. August Dvorak did a lot of research and concluded that this particular arrangement will make typing faster. Some people who have used the Dvorak and have gotten used to it have actually said that the Dvorak is faster. But then, for most people in the whole world, Dvorak is difficult to learn. The only reason is that people are already used to the QWERTY. If you know how to type on QWERTY and you switch to Dvorak, you have to learn typing all over again, because whatever you press will be wrong. Because when we are learning typing, we memorize the keys. That is why we can type without looking on the keyboard, because when you are learning typing, you don't even look on the keyboard. We don't look on the keyboard before pressing. Like beginners who are always looking on the keyboard, sometimes they can't even find the keys. They want to press S and they will use 5 minutes looking for S. It doesn't work that way. The Dvorak was not invented, or the Dvorak was not named because of the first letters. It got its name from the inventor. Who can tell me the name of the inventor of the Dvorak keyboard? Pardon? Dr. April. Is it April? No. Dr. August Dvorak. I'm sure you remember his name. For me, I never forget his name. Dvorak. So this keyboard is called the Dvorak keyboard, or the Dvorak keyboard layout. Now, a lot of people still use Dvorak. If you continue doing your research in IT, you realize that some people use Dvorak. Just that the majority uses the QWERTY. Dr. August Dvorak carefully analyzed the QWERTY layout and concluded that its efficiency and comfort can be improved. He aimed to improve it by studying the placement of the letters and thereby creating an arrangement that suits most people and reduces fatigue. That is very common in typing. He looked into which letters are commonly pressed and placed them in the center, while placing the less used keys at the bottom where it is harder to reach. And so keys that are most used, he placed them in the center. And so most of your typing will be in the center and you don't have to move too much. And so he's right in some ways. But the QWERTY had already been in the system for more than 50 years before the Dvorak was invented. So people were already used to the QWERTY. And people have learned the QWERTY. And people type very fast with the QWERTY. And if you learn how to type, you will know how to type so fast. Typing is something that before you know it, you need to devote time to practice it. And it's something that when you get it, you don't forget again, ever. Once you get it, it is part of you. But if you don't have it, it can never come to you unless you get it the hard way by practicing consistently. And so the only way we can teach you typing is to make it compulsory and to force you, because typing is something that if you leave students to learn, if you give 100 students to learn, only one of them will learn it. They will all start all right. After 1 week, half of them will stop. After 2 weeks, you have only 15 doing it. After 2 months, they'll be left with 5. By 3 months' time, only 2. And it won't keep long, and one of them will also stop. So for 3 years, I've monitored how students learn typing, and most people have not been able to learn it. But I have seen some students who said no matter what, they will practice every day. Anytime they come to class, they will practice. And I have seen them become experts in typing. Students who didn't know anything about typing, I have seen them become experts. So it's all about disciplining yourself to type and practice no matter what. It is not boring, just that it needs determination and consistency. You have to be determined that you want to know how to type. And so we have tried so many ways of teaching our students to type, and the only successful method is by making it compulsory. And so if you stay in school for 6 months and you practice all the time, you definitely know how to type. I want us to watch a clip about the two keyboard layouts and we'll continue.
When the typewriter was invented back in the 1960s, its keys were arranged like piano keys, and they were in alphabetical order. As technology advanced, typewriters improved, and it was soon faster to use a typewriter than it was to write things out by hand. Typewriters are sophisticated mechanical devices, but because each type bar hits the same place on the device, typing too quickly causes the type bars to get stuck or jammed together, which would require the typist to have to go unjam the machine, which is annoying. In response to this, a fellow named Christopher Latham Scholes invented the QWERTY keyboard layout to slow typists down. Actually, that's a common misconception. The QWERTY layout was not designed to slow typists down. Rather, it was primarily designed to minimize typewriter jamming by placing the most commonly used characters farther away from one another. This led to fewer jams and therefore faster typing. The QWERTY layout, named of course for the first 6 letters that appear on the keyboard, quickly gained popularity along with the introduction of the Remington No. 2 typewriter, which was also the first typewriter to include a shift key for easily shifting all the letters between upper and lower case. After that, other typewriter manufacturers began to use the QWERTY layout in their products, and eventually the layout became so widespread that it's still the most common standard today. But we don't use typewriters anymore. With the introduction of personal computers and printers, typewriters have become almost entirely obsolete. But the QWERTY layout, which was designed for typewriters, is not obsolete. And maybe it should be. There are a number of alternative keyboard layouts that have emerged over the years, but most notable is the Dvorak keyboard layout, which was invented in 1936 by August Dvorak, who named it after himself. The Dvorak layout was carefully designed to increase typing speed while minimizing errors and unnecessary finger movement, which can lead to repetitive strain injuries. On Dvorak, all the most commonly used letters are on the home row, with consonants on the right and vowels on the left, and 70% of all typing is done on the home row. Compare that to 32% on the QWERTY layout. Dvorak certainly looks very logical, but it's still controversial as to whether Dvorak is actually faster and better than QWERTY. It seems like there hasn't really been an acceptable, rigorously scientific study on Dvorak versus QWERTY, with many of the pro-Dvorak studies coming straight from Mr. Dvorak himself. But I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say, yeah, I think it is a superior keyboard layout. I mean, it was carefully designed to be that way. Even if Dvorak is faster and more efficient, switching to it from QWERTY is not easy. It's simple enough to rearrange the keys on most keyboards to a Dvorak layout, and most operating systems, except iOS, have built-in support for Dvorak keyboards. But there's still a lot of hurdles to overcome. It takes months before a typist can get back to the speed they were at on QWERTY, and even once you've learned Dvorak completely, you still have problems. A lot of software and games are designed for a QWERTY layout with little or no thought given to alternatives. Even the common shortcuts for undo, cut, copy, and paste are now scattered all across the keyboard. And good luck using WASD as directional keys in games. Also, heaven forbid you should ever have to share your computer with anyone else. People get really bewildered when they see this. Once you've learned Dvorak, the best solution seems to be using a QWERTY keyboard, but set to Dvorak in software. That way you can switch back to QWERTY whenever necessary. You see, QWERTY is already so ubiquitous by now that it's probably here to stay forever. Even though I believe that Dvorak is superior, I still haven't switched to it. I tried once and it was just too difficult for me, so I gave up. And that's why QWERTY is still king. It's not optimal, but it's good enough. And it's what everybody's already used to. A lot of things are that way, like our entire base 10 numerical system, which I talk about in this video. Even our own alphabet is suboptimal. I mean, do we really need X or Q? On that note, today's episode is brought to you by the letter L, which of course stands for lynda.com.
Okay, so let's continue. Main differences between the QWERTY and Dvorak keyboard layouts. The main difference between the QWERTY and Dvorak layouts is the arrangement of the letters. 2. QWERTY is a layout that almost the whole world uses, while most people have not even heard of Dvorak. I'm sure most of you are hearing Dvorak for the first time. QWERTY is an older keyboard layout compared to Dvorak. 4. QWERTY is now standardized all over the world, while Dvorak comes in a variety of layouts for different people. Dvorak was created with ergonomics in mind, while QWERTY was originally designed to prevent typewriter jamming. Although acquiring a Dvorak keyboard is not as easy as getting a QWERTY keyboard, most operating systems allow you to switch keyboard layouts in the system software settings. To use a Dvorak layout, even though you have a QWERTY keyboard connected to the computer and vice versa. That means you may have a Dvorak keyboard, but inside the operating system you can set your keyboard to QWERTY. Or you may be using a QWERTY keyboard, but in the operating system you can set your keyboard to Dvorak. And this time, even though the letters appear in QWERTY form, when you press it will respond to Dvorak. And there are some keyboards that you can actually remove the keys and rearrange them. So you can do that if you have the time. Alright, now let's move to another section of our studies, talking about the types of keyboard. What we learned before were the layouts of keyboards. Now we want to learn about the what? The types of keyboards. There are many different types of keyboards available right now, and each of them is designed with a focus on a specific feature that suits specific needs. Below are the common keyboard types. Number 1, we have the mechanical keyboard. Number 2, the membrane keyboard, wireless keyboard, gaming keyboard, virtual keyboard, ergonomic keyboard, laptop keyboard, and of course the Apple Magic keyboard. Let's look at the mechanical keyboard. A mechanical keyboard is a keyboard built with individual spring key switches underneath the keys to register key press. Due to the durability of these switches, mechanical keyboards are high quality keyboards that last far longer than membrane keyboards. Mechanical keyboards also make touch noises when each key is pressed. Alright, so this type of keyboard is a mechanical keyboard, and it has individual spring keys. Some of these keyboards you can actually remove the keys and rearrange them. Let's look at another type of keyboard. This is a second type. This is called the membrane keyboard. When you open the keyboard, it has this membrane in it. The membrane keyboards use a single rubber-like membrane underneath the keys that makes contact with the circuit board when the key is fully depressed. They are also referred to as rubber dome switch keyboards. Membrane keyboards are relatively cheaper and quieter, although they require more force to register each keystroke compared to mechanical keyboards. As such, they are not the best choice for heavy typists or gamers. Now, let's look at wireless keyboards. I'm sure you've seen a wireless keyboard before, right? A wireless keyboard is a keyboard that is not connected to the computer by means of cables, but communicates by means of radio frequency, infrared, or Bluetooth technology. The radio waves or infrared laser technology connects to a wireless adapter or receiver that is plugged into the computer's USB port and transmits the strokes from the keyboard wirelessly. Wireless keyboards offer portability and flexibility to the user, as the user can move the keyboard around without having to keep it directly on the desk. So most wireless keyboards have this particular adapter. Have you seen this small thing? So you plug this in your USB port, and it will be the receiver that connects your keyboard to the machine through Bluetooth. So before you type, you have to plug this. If you don't plug it, it will not recognize it on the machine. For the Apple keyboard, it works in a different way, but for other wireless keyboards, you have to connect this dongle to your machine before it will work. And mostly when you connect it, both the mouse and the keyboard will work. Alright, so now let's look at gaming keyboards. A gaming keyboard is a computer keyboard specially designed for gamers. It consists of unique features that give gamers an edge in gaming. It also usually comes with colorful backlighting effects that enhance the gaming experience. On gaming keyboards, which are mostly mechanical, the key switches require less depression and result in faster action for games. There may also be extra keys that are user configurable. Alright, so most gaming keyboards are colorful and are designed in a certain way, and sometimes as you press them the light also work, and sometimes the light will stay on, and sometimes they have some special keys on them for controlling games, and sometimes even for multimedia. There are some keyboards you see play, you see pause, you see several keys. Alright, so how many keyboards have we talked about so far? We talked about which one? What was the first one? Mechanical, and then the membrane keyboard, then wireless keyboard, and then a gaming keyboard. Let's continue. We also have a type of keyboard that is called the virtual keyboard. The keyboards used in smartphones are called virtual keyboards. So with your smartphone, we are actually talking about the touch screen smartphone. When you want to type on your smartphone, you see that the keyboard will appear. So in IT, anytime you hear virtual, it means a system that appears like a hardware, but it's not really a hardware. It is actually controlled by software. So your phone screen is there. If you want to type, your keyboard just pops out and you can type. I believe you've typed on a phone before. Now, a virtual keyboard is a software-based keyboard used with touchscreen devices without the need for physical keys or physical keyboard. The keyboard is a digital representation of a QWERTY keyboard that appears on the screen when text input is required by the application. The user can then tap the virtual keys to type. Also, the on-screen keyboard in Windows computers is a virtual keyboard. So when it comes to Windows, we have an on-screen keyboard. On-screen keyboard is on every machine. When you on your machine and you want a keyboard on the screen, you can just go to Start, click on Start and type keyboard. Immediately you start typing keyboard, you will see on-screen keyboard over here. Can you see it? You click on it and the keyboard will show on your screen. So this is an on-screen keyboard, and this on-screen keyboard, it works the same way your physical keyboard works. When you run it, it works exactly the same way your physical keyboard works. Let me open to Notepad and let me turn on my caps lock from here and type THE space COMPUTER space KEYBOARD. I made a mistake, right? Okay, backspace. I did it intentionally. Back ARD. So this on-screen keyboard is also a virtual keyboard. It's a software-based keyboard that appears and functions like a hardware. If your physical keyboard has a problem, you can use this virtual keyboard. When you open to this virtual keyboard, you can get almost every key you get on the physical keyboard. You can turn off the caps lock, press enter, type in small letters. You can get your numbers. You can get your symbols. You can even use shift. You see that I press shift. You can press shift and use your symbols. So this keyboard is called virtual keyboard. Someone's laptop has some keys that are not working, like the T is not working. And so whenever he needs T, he will open to the virtual keyboard, the on-screen keyboard, and he will press his T from here, and it will work. So this is just like the normal keyboard, and over here I can see the numeric keypad. When you open it for the first time, you may not have access to the numeric keypad, but you can click on options and turn on the numeric keypad. So over here I can see turn on numeric keypad. Once I check this option and I click OK, numeric keypad will show. Let me turn it off for you to see. So I turn off the numeric keypad and the numeric keypad will disappear. So the numbers are gone. If I want them back, I'll go back to options, then turn on numeric keypad, OK, and the numbers will show. So this is a virtual keyboard. Alright, now let's talk about my favorite keyboard, and we are talking about the ergonomic keyboard. I didn't say the economic keyboard. This is ergonomic keyboard. In about 3 months from now, we'll be studying a topic called ergonomics, and you'll learn that ergonomics is a very important lesson to take in IT. If you're a computer user, you need to learn about ergonomics. Alright, so we have ergonomic keyboards. Now, an ergonomic keyboard is a computer keyboard designed with ergonomics in mind. So if you don't know anything about ergonomics, you will be a little off. What is ergonomics? Ergonomics is a process of designing or arranging workplaces, products and systems so that they fit the people who use them in order to prevent or reduce work-related injuries. For example, these chairs we have here are ergonomic chairs. They are designed in a way that will fit the user, in a way that will prevent injuries from sitting. If you sit on a chair that cannot be adjusted at all, you may have some back and waist pain. But these type of chairs are called ergonomic chairs, and they are very comfortable to sit on. They are designed to hold your back in a very special way. They are designed to help you stretch whenever you want to. They are designed to be adjustable in height and in so many ways. So these chairs are called ergonomic chairs, and they help a lot. So when you learn about ergonomics, you learn about tools that will help or that will reduce work-related injuries. And so when it comes to ergonomic keyboards, they are keyboards that are designed to make typing more comfortable. Ergonomic keyboards are specially designed to minimize muscle strain and a host of related problems. Typically, ergonomic keyboards for 200 typees are constructed in a V shape to allow the right and left hands to type at a slight angle more natural to the human form. Ergonomic keyboards are usually expensive. So this type of keyboard, it is quite expensive. To get this keyboard, you need to spend a lot of money because it is an ergonomic keyboard and it is designed to make typing more comfortable. Let me show you this clip.
So this is the Kinesis Advantage Pro keyboard. It's a super ergonomic keyboard. It has a lot of cool features. I used to not care about ergonomics, and then my college roommate got carpal tunnel syndrome and had to get these steel rods through his arm and out his palm, which was really scary. It's very unhealthy for you to have your wrists up. You don't want to do that. You want to have them be down. I mean, even if you do it right now watching this video, you can feel the stress right here. That's why they put the keys in these kind of wells on this keyboard. You know, they recommend you put the pads on. Your wrists are sort of angled down, which is what you want. It's just a lot healthier for your joints. All of the modifier keys are right here under my thumbs, basically, for the most part, like Control, Alt, all of these things, instead of a conventional keyboard where you're doing that with your pinkies, because then you're splaying out to the side, and that is also a very uncomfortable sort of position. I switched from the QWERTY keyboard layout to the Dvorak keyboard layout, partially because it's supposed to reduce finger travel a lot and be better for your hands and your general health and avoid RSI and stuff like that. So if I'm sitting here next to another person with another keyboard, anyone in this room could come in here, type on this keyboard or another keyboard attached to it in QWERTY and it would work. But I can type with them at the same time in Dvorak, and my keyboard is translating the things that I type into it in itself before it even goes to the computer. So it's translating my QWERTY keys or my Dvorak keys into QWERTY for the machine, which allows me to work with another person who doesn't use this. That's really the critical element of it all.
All right, so we can see someone using an ergonomic keyboard, and he's actually using a Dvorak. Did you hear that? He's actually using a Dvorak. Now, when health experts study the things we use at our workplaces, they actually come up with some recommendations, and sometimes they make certain accessories that will help us to prevent long-term injuries. For example, if you're a computer user who always uses computer like this, in a day nothing will happen, but after some years of doing this, it will create a problem in your spinal cord. And so health experts study a whole lot of things and they come up with some recommendations. Sometimes they say that even your phone, you shouldn't use your phone like this because it will create a problem in your spinal cord. So the right way to use your phone is like this. And that way your spine will always be straight. When it comes to computers, there are certain little things that over several years they start creating certain problems. Especially the chair you sit in is one very important one, and so you need an ergonomic chair. This particular ergonomic keyboard is there to help you get a better experience and reduce any form of muscle strain. So you can see how the keyboard is designed, and because of how it is designed, you don't stretch too much. Now, some people have some health problems, and typing with the normal keyboard we all use is difficult for them to stretch their fingers and all that. Some people have issues with that, and so they prefer the ergonomic keyboard. Now, ergonomic keyboards are designed with ergonomics or health in mind, and so they are usually difficult to find, number one, and they are also expensive. For example, this ergonomic keyboard you are seeing here, the price we saw on the screen was what? $359 US. Meanwhile, a keyboard should cost just like $10. But this ergonomic keyboard, look at how much it costs. This is too expensive. Most ergonomic keyboards are expensive. This ergonomic keyboard will not be too expensive, but it is still expensive. And it has been designed in a V shape that is more natural to the human form. All right. So these are pictures of other ergonomic keyboards. So this is just like what we saw in the video. This is an ergonomic keyboard. All right. I want to talk about laptop keyboards. Why do I talk about laptop keyboard? Because the laptop keyboard has a slightly different arrangement from the desktop keyboard. So let's see. Laptop keyboards are arranged slightly differently than desktop keyboards to accommodate the laptop size. Most laptop keyboards are also made smaller by placing the keys closer and by including an FN key. So when we talk about laptop keys, we usually talk more about the FN key. Almost every laptop keyboard has an FN key. This FN key you don't see on the desktop keyboard, but almost every laptop has an FN key. So we'll be looking at why we have the FN key. The FN key is used in conjunction with other keys to perform special functions. For example, pressing the FN key and the up or down arrow keys on most laptop keyboards increases and decreases the brightness of the screen. Furthermore, many laptop screens omit the numeric keypad to save space. Now, when it comes to laptop manufacturing, a lot of things are squeezed. The RAM is squeezed, that is why it is so small. It is made smaller. The hard drive is made smaller. And the keyboard is also squeezed in a way. Over here you can see an FN key here. Do you see FN? This FN key can be found on almost all laptops. On desktops you don't see the FN. There are only one or two that will have the FN. And when we talk about FN, we are not talking about our function keys. You know that when it comes to desktop keyboards, we have function keys at the top. If you look on the keyboard in front of you, you see F1 to F12. Check on your keyboard and let me know if you can see it. F1 to F12. Have you seen them? Yes. These are called the function keys. They are called what? They are called the function keys, and they are special keys for special functions. When you press F3, something will happen. When you press F4, something will happen. And most of the time, they are unique in different programs. That means in some programs, F4 does something. In a different program, F4 does something else. But there is one of the function keys that is always the same for all programs and all computers. The first one, what's the name of the first function key? Pardon? F1, please. Can't you see on your keyboard? What is the first function key? In all of computer science and all of IT, F1 means help. F1 means what? Help. No matter the program you are using, anytime you need help, you press F1 and a help window will show and give you help. In IT, computer scientists and computer specialists know F1 so much so that it is normal for some of them to even replace F1 with help. Sometimes when someone wants to say help, you can say F1, because we have used F1 so much for help that F1 represents help. One day a computer expert was drowning in a swimming pool. Instead of calling for help, he was saying F1, 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 F1. The people there, no one understood the meaning of F1. So he died. Alright. F1 is for help. Most of the others will be based on specific programs. Now, the FN key on your laptop is also a function key. But that FN is not the same as the function keys at the top of your keyboard. I can still see F1 to F12 over here, just that they are very, very small. Anytime you have a laptop with an FN key, it means there are other keys that are placed on keys that are not supposed to have those characters. Let me explain again. Anytime you see the FN key on a laptop, it means there are other characters that are placed on other keys that under normal circumstances they are not supposed to be on those keys. And so to access those special characters, you need to hold the FN before they will be activated. For example, when it comes to the number keys at the top here, you know that there are two functions on those particular keys. Please, do you know that? Over here, we have the open parenthesis and 0. That same key, when I press it, I get 0. But when I hold down shift and I press it, I get a close parenthesis. Please, are you seeing this? Let's look at this particular key. When I press it, I'll get 7. But when I hold the shift and I press it, I'll get the ampersand symbol. Over here, when I press it, I'll get 5. When I hold the shift, I'll get the percentage symbol. Have you seen that? That means there are two functions on that particular key. Now, when you look at the top here, you can see that this laptop is giving us two functions on these keys. On desktops, we only have one function for the function keys. But in this particular machine, we are seeing two functions. For example, when you press this one, you are going to increase your volume. But you can see that the FN or the F6 that was supposed to be here has been made very small. That means to access this F6, you need to hold down the function key, the FN key, sorry. You need to hold down the FN key before pressing this key. And when you do that, it is not the volume that will increase, but you activate the F6. Sometimes, even on the letter keys, there are some secondary characters or symbols or letters on other keys, and usually they are in different colors. Sometimes you see them in blue or orange. And when you see them in blue, the FN key too will be colored in blue. And when you hold the FN key and you press those particular keys, you are going to get those small functions that have been added. Are you here? So when you have a laptop and you see the FN is there to help you access other characters or functions that have been placed on particular keys. And usually those keys have multiple functions. When you hold the FN, you get something else. When you press it alone, you get something else. Watch this. This particular key, what do you see here? 8. On top of 8, we see asterisk. And this asterisk, to get it, you need to hold down shift. Shift is what will give you the secondary character on this particular key. Sometimes a third character can be added in a different color, and it will be written at the bottom right corner in a very small size. And when you see something like that, you should always come to the FN key. When you hold down the FN key and you press that particular key, you will get that character that has been placed down there. That is why they created the FN key, because laptops do not have space for several characters, and so they need to add 2, sometimes 3 characters on the same key. Please, are you here? The last type of keyboard we want to talk about is the Apple Magic Keyboard. It is called the Magic Keyboard because that's the name they've given to it. The Apple Magic Keyboard is a new computer keyboard produced by Apple. It was released alongside the Magic Mouse 2. and the Magic Trackpad 2 in October 2015. An extended layout version called the Magic Keyboard with numeric keypad was created in June 2017. So that's what I have here. I have the Magic Keyboard with the numeric keypad, and I think I have a picture of that here as well. So in the book you can see it here. This is the same keyboard I'm using. There are some of them without the numeric keypad, but this one has a numeric keypad, the Apple Magic Keyboard. It is the successor to the Apple wireless keyboard. Magic Keyboard combines a sleek design with a built-in rechargeable battery and enhanced key features with a stable scissor mechanism beneath each key, as well as an optimized key travel. The Magic Keyboard provides a remarkably comfortable and precise typing experience. And so with the Magic Keyboard, typing is fun. Typing is fun.